And the bow drill method is what I'm going to be demonstrating because it's really, from a friction fire point of view, I think it's the easiest way to get into it. So the first thing that I need is a kit that's going to work, and this one isn't going to work for me. So I'm going to set the kit up by starting a new hole here, and I've made a little depression there. And this first part takes kind of a lot of coordination because I don't have anything that's holding the bottom of this spindle. These are both made out of the native wood how, which is above and beyond any other material that I've found for making friction fire. So we're really lucky here in Hawaii because it's a really readily available material. And whenever I take this to the mainland, a kit that's made out of how to the mainland, and let people try it, they all want some. All the friction fire people want some. They're like, where'd you get that? That was the easiest fire I've ever made. So the bow can be made out of anything. And then the cordage, of course, here I'm using nylon cordage. You can make cordage, that's a whole nother subject, but a shoelace works. Any stick that's, you know, got a little bit of flexibility to it and can put tension on a string. So this is the ancient way of drilling holes. One of the ancient ways of drilling holes. I'm using a bone here that's got a depression in it to hold the top of the spindle, but you can use a stone with a depression in it or hardwood. Getting this little bit started, I won't be surprised if it goes flying because I don't have much there, but I'm going to try just to get my depression started so I can do the next step, which is to cut the groove. You can see there's already some nice friction there, smoke coming. But I won't be able to build up a coal until I cut this little groove in that. So that's the first step. Now I've got a nice spot. I'm going to use a saw for this. It's easier than a knife, but a knife works, it's just a little more tedious. I have the saw. So basically I'm going to carve a notch, a little pie-shaped notch right into the center of this groove here. And this little fine-tooth saw works really well for that. So don't want to overdo this. It's not super pie shaped, but you can see what I've got there. So now there's a place for all that hot char to fall, and the coal will form right in there if I can generate enough friction and heat. Now, so my kit is set up. I'm ready to go here. That's the first thing I want. It's nice dry afternoon, which is nice. When it's wet, you got to keep everything as dry as possible. It is possible to start a friction fire when it's raining on you, but it's a lot harder. Another thing we have in Hawaii that's like amazing for starting fires is coconut. These are the sheaths that form around the base of each of the palm fronds, and it's kind of like paper when it comes off. And this stuff has a really low, I don't know what the name for that is, but basically it catches on fire. It goes from being a coal to a flame at a very low temperature compared to a lot of other materials. So I'm going to use this to catch my coal, but I want to put a little bit of other material in that. So, you know, when I'm teaching, I have all these different things that I gather up. Thistledown works really well. I have some paper bark here. I'm going to use a little bit of that. Another thing that works really well is cotton lint. Yeah, I'm not seeing my other stuff, so I think I'm just going to go with coconut and a little bit of paper bark. Catch the coal. And this is a lot like birch. On the mainland, birch is the material that's amazing this way. This is a bark that comes off in layers, and I'm just going to kind of take some of those very thin layers And when the coal that I generate hits this material, I can scratch it and just kind of get little thin layers off. The coal will spread. This has lots of volatile oils in it that make it also really flammable. So between that and the coconut, I'm going to take a little more of this coconut fiber and pull the really sharp, strong fibers out. Those fibers that are kind of hard and woody are actually really great tinder. So I'm going to put them on my tinder pile right here. Some people like to work with a teepee. I prefer to just build the fire on top of my tinder bundle, kind of one stick at a time once I get it going. So I'm going to roll this in my hand, and that's going to break the fibers up a little bit more. I'm going to make like a little ball of coconut fiber that's sort of a little bit more broken up. I'm going to stick that down in here too. So that's all my nest, part of my nest, that I'll drop the coal into, and hopefully that will work. So this is the kind of material you want to gather. Ziploc bags are really handy for keeping a little bit of stuff dry. So if I were, headed off into the bush, I would probably take some of this stuff with me if I could. If I have to look for it and find it, you can. You can use grass, you can use lots of different materials for this. So let's see, no, I want to go this way. So holding everything really still is super important. And my cord might run out on me, but I think I have a little bit more. Got a shoelace kicking around here someplace. The tension on this, this one is a little bit tighter than it needs to be, but tighter is better. You don't want that cord slipping. And now I'm going to use my left hand to hold this braced against my shin here, and that's really important. The hardest thing for people when using a bow drill solo, if you don't have somebody helping you steady this hand, is keeping this hand steady and not letting it tilt over funny. And when you make a mistake, which you may get to observe, the spindle is going to go pew and go flying. But I'm going to just start out really slow, just trying to get a feeling for what's vertical here and what's horizontal, and then gradually I'll build up a little bit of speed. But I'm also going to warm these materials up, so they're slowly getting warm. It's driving all the moisture out of the edges that are in contact there. Now you can see a little bit of smoke. That's about half of what I want to see. So now I'm going to go a little bit longer and a little bit faster. And now my foot's getting hot. It's a good sign. That's the kind of smoke you want to see. Just like that. So I should have a coal by now. Yeah, there's a coal in there. If it keeps smoking, got a little coal. So I'm going to let that kind of age itself a bit, and then that's going to go inside my tinder bundle. Usually it holds together pretty well. Just take some little thing to poke it out of there with. And then that's falling right in where I want it. Now let's see how this works. So it's getting hot. And then my other little pile of dry twigs, which I collected from Standing dead wood is really the best. It's always moist around here in Haiku in Hawaii in the mornings. The wood that's going to be the driest is the farthest from the ground, basically. So I'm using a little bit of lemon, a little bit of guava. I have eucalyptus twigs around here. Eucalyptus twigs don't burn well. So with a little bit of practice, you'll start to recognize which materials are more flammable than others. It makes a huge difference.